ago, and he's a goal scorer. What about Dante? Dante's his own breed.
Give me 2 seconds, Eichel and Svetch, and I'll be coming at your neck. Richard Zednick, laugh past the breadstick, Artemi will bury. Send him on his merry way, lest it's don't carry. What's sadder than KK's broken spleen? Leafs fan with hopes and dreams. Rink Moose is back for season 3 with hot takes like you wouldn't believe.
I'll block shots. I rescind that. You've never blocked a shot for me.
Now let's turn it over to the host of the show. His character's high, but his skill level's low. Kid back checks like you don't even know. Championship flow, Jonathan Quick is a schmo. Yeah.
Oh, hello there.
Tis the season. Last year was like treason. Stanley Cup, more like a COVID Cup. The year of Cooper was more a big blooper, like Ferris Bueller in a brand new cruiser. Oh, hell, hell! Now my car is a star, moves like a sports car. He can sauce like a Boston crisscross like Art Ross. He's peanut butter smooth like Quinn Hughes, and a work of art like that upstart Carter Hart. That's good kokanee right there. So in comes Keith. Will the boys be Leaf? Can Jumbo Joe and Nonsense Mo avoid another repeat? It's time to start the show, so turn up the stereo. Put your feet up, relax, enjoy a Bud Light Jack. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 4 of the Rink Moose Hockey Podcast, an episodic podcast where two good pals get together and discuss all things NHL and their implications in the fantasy hockey universe. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Nick Costu, along with this selfish schmuck, Kyle Nice. Kyle, how are you doing on this fine Wednesday evening?
Boy, my character traits are always changing on this show. People don't know who I am anymore. I'm doing well. Doing well.
You're terrifying me right now. Right now we're on a Zoom call and you've got this photo of this just mugshot of who's this? Tanev,
yeah.
This is like sending shivers down my spine.
When I saw this photo, I knew I had to have this guy on my team. And what I really question is, where was this guy on the off season? Like, there's no way he was training for hockey. He must have been in some backwater third world, neighborhood. And I have no idea what he was doing there, but he's an awesome, awesome guy. Just a great guy to have on your fantasy team.
And of course, I would be remiss if I did not introduce our guest for this week in the ever-rotating third chair, occupying the hot seat this time around. They call him, of course, Joe from the Bridge.
Whoa!
Joseph Camilleri. How are you doing on this? This evening?
Great. It's great to be back. But before we start, I just wanted to say two things. One, I wanted to wish a happy birthday to the schmuck Kyle. I was waiting for the show to do it. And I also would like to issue a public apology to the Rink Moose viewers and to Kyle especially.
Wow.
And this is a very big step for me because I never do this, especially when it comes to hockey and my rivals. But I will say I was wrong. I was wrong about the Montreal Canadiens.
Wow.
They're a good hockey team. And I don't want to play them in the playoffs.
There we go.
At all. So accept my apology, Kyle, hopefully, and the rest of the Rink Moose universe. But there, I said it. They're a good team. And, I have to be said.
This is another thing that we teach the ladies and gentlemen of the show is that you can be a bigger person. And Joe is showing that today. The humility involved is outstanding. I accept the apology. And like I said on the phone call the other day, we can coexist at the top of the standings, and that's fine by me.
And as long as we beat Edmonton, that's, at the end of the day, I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, hey, as we'll discuss, I think there might be a new third team on the block that we have to watch out for. So we'll see about that.
Well, hey, that's how things stand right now. You got the literally. Joe's got to be in the most ecstatic mood ever because he wakes up this morning to his Leafs being first in the standings. And you have Montreal right behind him in second, and then tied with Montreal in second with 7 games played. So Montreal with a game in hand, the Winnipeg Jets. So pretty amazing stuff there. And that, of course, leads us to our topic of the day, breaking news as of 2-3 days ago. Huge trade, something that Pierre Maguire is calling the biggest trade since 2006, when Joe Thornton was traded to the San Jose Sharks from the Boston
Did he
Bruins.
really? Wow. That's a bit extreme. That's a bit extreme.
It did sound extreme, but when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I can't think of one either. So,
right.
Without further ado, here are the details. In case you haven't heard it and you've been living under a rock the last 2-3 days, the Jets acquire, of course, PBL, or no, not PBL. What how would I say it?
PLD.
PLD.
PLD, Pierre-Luc Dubois, along with a third-round pick in the 2022 NHL draft in exchange for Patrick Laine and Jack Roslovic, headed to Columbus, Ohio. And of course, little fine detail, Jets will retain 26% of that Laine salary. So those are the details. Lots to unpack here. I mean, I guess, I'll just state some details here before we get some opinions. Pierre-Luc Dubois' father is an assistant coach for the Manitoba Moose. That's the AHL team of Winnipeg. So there's a little tie in there. Jack Roslovic is a Columbus, Ohio native. One of the few in the NHL. So that's a little tie in there. And of course, Jarmo Kekalainen, the lone Finnish GM in the NHL. He, of course, acquires arguably the best Finnish player in Patrick Laine. So lots of interesting little layers there. Yeah, I'll open the floor to the guest, as always, as tradition dictates here on the show. And what do you have to say about this? What was your gut reaction, Joe, when you heard this news on Sunday or Saturday morning?
Yeah, well, when I woke up to the trade, I knew that both parties were going to move on from each other at some point in the season. I was just worried from Winnipeg's perspective that they were going to overpay for Pierre-Luc Dubois, and I think that's exactly what happened in this situation. I think that I just don't know if the trade makes sense for Winnipeg, especially in a league where goal scoring is paramount. Like I have Patrick Laine's stats here. He scored 28 in his he's going 36, 44, 30 and 28 goals. And Winnipeg has just given up that and Jack Roslovic and a pick for Pierre-Luc Dubois. Like, don't get me wrong, the center depth on Winnipeg is going to be great now, but I just don't know if you can ever replace the goal scoring talent of Patrick Laine. And part of me believes that this trade is more of just one guy who doesn't want to be there versus another guy that doesn't want to be there, and they sort of force their hands. But if I had to pick an immediate winner of the trade, I think it would be Columbus. They've just gained one of the premier goal scorers in the NHL. And I think Pierre-Luc Dubois is an excellent player, but was it worth Roslovic and Laine and a pick? I'm not so sure about that. So my immediate reaction is just that I think Winnipeg gave up too much to get Pierre-Luc Dubois. Whether or not it works out, that's a completely different story in the future. I think Pierre's a great player. But I just don't know. I don't know. I think they might have given up too much. And I just don't think in this league you give up these premier young goal scorers for a two-way center. I just don't think you do.
How nice.
Boy, oh boy. What a jaw dropper of a trade. One thing I want to bring up really quickly, and this really contributes to the whole value perspective, is that Pierre-Luc Dubois just signed a 2-year deal worth about $5 million AAV. Overall, the players are going to be paid about the same by the teams due to the fact that you have that salary retention in Winnipeg. However, Laine, his deal's up after this year. So if we don't see a signing from Columbus for Laine, that would be a huge factor to this trade. I'm not sure where they are on that, but we have to keep in mind value-wise, Laine is on an expiring deal, no guarantee that he signs there. I mean, we could all picture a scenario where him and Torts don't get along, right? I think we've all had that thought run through our head. I'm not sure these guys are going to be the best of buddies, but it's just something to look for, a little added layer. I'm sure they're going to do everything they can to keep him happy, but I'll take a little bit of a a little bit of a contrarian approach to a certain extent. I think both teams won the deal in their own way. On paper, for sure, Joe's got it down pat. Laine's got the better numbers. He's got the higher pedigree. He's the goal scorer. Goals are premium. But then you take a look at what it's done to Columbus's center depth, and I'm now looking at Max Domi as their number one center, followed by God knows who. Like it from a team's perspective, I worry that they haven't really moved forward. They've added a weapon, yes, but how that translates into wins for them, and especially with the system that they play, like does Laine fit into that defensive system? He can, maybe, but it's going to take a lot of time. So Columbus, I'm going to have to really check in on them often to see if this will work for them long term. And hey, if it doesn't, there's going to be worries about him not signing. However, I look over at Winnipeg now, and then you mentioned the center depth, which looks fantastic. You're getting a player. If you look at it this way, I think Pierre-Luc Dubois has contributed more wins to Columbus than Laine has contributed more wins to Winnipeg. Laine was not, the top line guy for them. He was always kind of buried behind the Scheifele's, the Wheelers. Now, he did definitely do great things there, but I think Columbus is going to miss Dubois as that number one center more than Winnipeg will. And then, we saw Dubois in the last year's playoffs was a horse. This guy was just an awesome, tough center who can score goals. He was a point per game. I really love what Winnipeg looks like now. And I think they're very happy with the deal. So in a way, I think both teams win. But if I'm the GM in Winnipeg, I'd still pull the trigger on that deal any day of the week. I love what they look like and what their identity has evolved into now. It's turning into my kind of team, so to speak. And I think they're right up there with the big dogs now in that division.
Pundits will say that this is a win for both teams. They will look back to the deal Nashville made with Columbus, where Seth Jones was traded for Ryan Johansson, and say it was a win for both teams. And of course, that did not end up being the case. Jarmo and Columbus ran away with that deal, as we see Johansson struggling now. And I think the same thing's going to play out with this deal. I think Winnipeg wins in the short and the long term. The reason I say short term is just because I think they address a more pressing need. I think the center position inherently has more value in this league than a wing. And I think he will slot in better and simply, bolster that depth and make it arguably the best in that North Division with now Pierre-Luc Dubois, Mark Scheifele, Adam Lowry, and Paul Stastny. It's pretty hard to beat. And hey, it's great for Columbus. It will improve the power play. You are getting a power play specialist who will turn what has been a lackluster power play into a lethal one, which I'm sure will include Seth Jones, Zach Greinke, and Laine on the same unit. I think there's a lot of potential there. But even strength, I think he will struggle. If you own him in fantasy, I think this is a hit. He is not going to produce with a centerman like Max Domi. A competent centerman to get him the puck every shift, that simply is non-existent in Columbus right now. And so I don't know if the fit is as good in Columbus as it is in Winnipeg. And that's why I have to give the edge to Winnipeg short term. And then as far as long term, I also think I have to give the edge to Winnipeg. This is a guy in Dubois who played in, a place Kyle's very fond of, Blainville-Brobroyant, in the QMJHL. And Cape Breton. Like this guy's literally played in the heart of North Quebec and out east. And this guy likes the cold. He likes these remote little areas. His dad is an assistant coach in Winnipeg. He's got family there. They already have a place for him to stay. He's apparently quarantined in like a place they already owned right now. Like the fit is just so great. Whereas this Laine to Columbus, other than the GM being Finnish and knowing, the fact he's known Laine since he's been 16, I don't think there's enough there. And Jarmo has surprised me in the past. He's only done great things. So this will be a true test for him to see if he can, groom Laine and hopefully win his interest in the next year and a half. and we'll see it. We'll see how things go from there. So I think in the short and the long term, Winnipeg wins this. And then my final little observation, and I think both of you won't want to hear this, given one of you is a heartfelt Habs fan, the other's a heartfelt Leafs fan. I think now, if I'm rooting for a single team to come out of this North Division, it's the Winnipeg Jets.
Wait,
So,
when you say rooting, do you mean
what
like
do you mean by
think
that?
Yeah.
like that's your favorite team now?
I don't think they're going to come out of the division as the winner. I still think Toronto and Montreal are better teams. But if
Okay.
there's like a place in my heart rooting for one of these teams, it's the Winnipeg Jets.
Well, you know what, Nick?
Just because I can't like the Habs because I'm a Leafs fan. I'm more obviously a Leafs fan, but I can't root for the Leafs because of this recent character trajectory I've seen, which was highlighted this past week when I saw Mitch Marner chirp the Winnipeg Jets after he scored that empty netter. It really bothered me.
Oh, that okay. So first of all,
That really bothered me, Joe.
But Pionk was trying to take his head off on that hit. That was, what are you talking about?
I don't care. It's a 1-goal game. He's got to defend the crease.
So hang on a sec, Eric. He shot the puck and then he went after him. It wasn't like a bang play. Like that puck was going.
He was. Come on. He had a chance of getting that puck.
The recent character trajectory. What are you, Don Cherry?
and then the interview right after when he's asked about it, Marner, Mr. Smartass Marner's just like, I don't care. We won the game.
Yeah, well,
It
that's the
pissed
right
me
thing to
off.
say. What are you going to say? Like, what do you honestly,
Give an explanation. Be honest.
what?
Don't act like
Hey,
a sucker.
the
Don't
guy
act
tried
like
to-
a prima
the guy tried to
donna.
The guy tried to take my head off. And you know what? If he's going to act like a prima donna, it's fine. He leads the league in scoring, so it's okay. Well, now he's in second, but in the game,
And I will give you that. I think he's been the best player in the entire. I think him and Mark Stone have been the two best players in the NHL so far.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
But,
I will give him that.
So to your point about like having they're now Winnipeg in terms of that center depth between Scheifele, Stasny, Lowry, and now Pierre-Luc Dubois. Like they're among the best in the division. I still think like the Leafs might have a better 1-2 punch in Tavares and Matthews than the Jets do. But no, the Jets are seriously a dangerous team, and I seriously think they'll finish in either third or second in the division. But like you said, I still think that in terms of like the most important thing in this league is to score goals, and like they've just given that up in line A. But I will say that I also don't know. Like I'm very curious, more as a word, to see how he's going to fit in Columbus's system, because they play a very tight defensive game, and I don't know if that suits line A. So like I'm more curious than anything to see how Torts uses him.
Oh, couple things here. First of all, I'm on Joe's side with this. I think Pionk was a little bit offside doing that. Like I told Nick, I don't have any problem with what Marner did for sure. Yeah, what he said in the interview maybe comes off a little standoffish, but you know what? It's whatever. Like he was just defending himself.
Just interrupt you. Why can't the NHL have people with personality? You know, why does it got to be like this league where everyone's got to wear a suit and tie and up there? Why? Like, let's just. That's why I love the NBA and parts of it, because you know there's guys that have personality and you know flash. Like the NHL needs that.
I agree. There needs to be personality, but I'm telling you right now, and I've said this before, I don't like the personalities on this Leafs team. At least the main guys, the Matthews, the Marners, and the Nylanders. But I do like the guys they've gotten to insulate them. The Thorntons and the Simmons and the character they've added, even Boyd. But like
not Boyd.
The head honchos, the faces of the franchise, I don't approve of their character. And if I can't approve of their character, I don't like them more than the Jets.
I don't see what's wrong with Matthews' character.
I don't like his attitude. He comes off as like, I'm the fucking shit.
But he is the shit.
Not yet. He hasn't won a playoff round.
There's two players in this center depth right now that might be better than Matthews, and that's McDavid for sure, and Crosby. Other than that, I wouldn't take anyone in the league over
McKinnon.
Matthews. I still think Matthews is better than McKinnon. But that's my
Pierre-Luc Dubois Dubois.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Now we're going too far.
I don't think you can flex to the extent they do until they won a playoff series, and they haven't won. I think
Matthews is. I don't think he flexes that much. I listen. I don't know. I like Marner saying that stuff after the game, because you know if someone tries to take your head off, I'd say the same thing. And fuck Pionk, he sucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? You know what it is? Like, just last thing on this topic is just to contrast the two characters. McDavid, who's actually won a playoff round, everyone's looking at him like, oh, this guy wants to get out of Edmonton. He hasn't won. He's like, yeah, we haven't won anything. Like, I'm getting impatient here. And Matthews is acting like he's had all this success, but really they haven't had a shred of success.
Well, I think
that's what Nick's talking about.
I think you guys are reading too much into his attitude. I don't think he's said. I can't find, like, if you could find me a quote from him that he thinks that he's.
It's a vibe.
Like,
Joe, like the guy, none of those guys give a good interview. Like I love just
nothing.
listening to guys' interviews. I love interviews. Like, ask Kyle, the World Juniors every year. I watch every interview just to see who these kids are, what kind of attitude they bring, who gets the character.
It's
like
obsessive.
10 out of 10 character. I don't like listening to a single Leafs interview. I don't like listening to any guy talk except for probably Morgan Riley.
I think but see what I mean? You guys got this classic notion of the hockey player, this stiff as a board guy. That's not Matthews.
No. This is the problem, Joe.
But he hasn't said anything to me. It's a vibe. Well, that's pretty subjective, no?
Okay, Matthews, Marner, Tavares, they answer every interview the same. They just give bland ass answers, and they don't let any personality show.
So you're grouping to John Tavares now in the same group as Matthews and Marner. Tavares, I think, is the least person who says that. Maybe I'll give you Marner, maybe, but Matthews and Tavares, I think they've been. I don't know. I don't see any of that attitude from them at all.
You know what? Maybe Nick's going off on a different tangent here, but for me, the vibe I'm getting is that these guys think they're the shit, and that they would rather score points and like get ladies than win games. That's my perspective. Obviously, Tavares.
Well, they're 6-2 now, so if they're doing that and I'll take it.
Well, that's just what I've and maybe
and it's
change.
hey Joe,
I'm
it's
for change, but
it's a crippled division, and they're going to be great. They're going to do great all year. They're not going to be challenged. They're going to put up points. Marner might lead the league in scoring. And they're not going to be challenged until they have to play the Metro.
But you have noticed that they're objectively better defensively this year.
Yes.
They're winning games that they would never have otherwise won last year. I think 3 of their past 4 games have been won by 1-score games, and the Leafs never used to do that last year. Their power play is clicking. Their penalty kill is clicking. And to be honest with you, they just look like at least every night they give an effort. Whereas last year...
I was so happy last night when I saw that Calgary only registered 1 shot on goal through the first period. The Jacques Lemarian guy in me loved that. I was enamored.
The Jacques
Shut
Lemarian.
up.
Oh my God.
I love that shit. So yes, this is the best Leafs team I've seen play in my history as a Leaf fan. Basically my lifetime. But this is probably what I expected given what this North Division is, which is all scoring and little defense.
Can you say that you expected that though? Like, for example, like last year, I mean, the Leafs, like they were giving up like high danger chances like crazy, and not to mention that, like, just even in their own zone, they were fundamentally unsound. So I honestly, as a Leaf fan, was extremely nervous coming into the season, saying like, if there's a year for them to like fall asleep at the wheel, it's at this Canadian division, and for them not to play good defense because the talent's not there on the other teams. But they've really buckled down, and I think that's an incorrect characterization of the Leafs. I think that all the stars this year at the Leafs have shown up. I think they've all played well, and I think that I think they're handling themselves well in this division. To be honest with you, I think all of them are.
Yeah, well, I expected it just because you added 2 defensemen who have played every night of the season, and Zach Bogosian and TJ Brody.
Well, and Justin Hall has turned into a legitimate top 4 option. Justin Hall
he's turned into what Kyle Dubas saw all those years, and they insulated the bottom 6 by adding more guys, more grit, more personality.
Yes.
And they're getting the goaltending. You saw Jack Campbell give like a heart and soul effort the other night. So all the things are clicking, and Sheldon Keefe got to have an actual offseason with the team as opposed to just swooping on in one evening in Arizona and pulling out Babs.
And in the last 54 games played or 55 games played, I think the Leafs have just as many wins in the regular season as teams like Tampa and Las Vegas do, or slightly below it. So Keefe has done a good job with what he's been given. I don't know. I just disagree with your characterization of Matthews and Marner. I'm very shocked at that. I think Matthews actually handles himself very, very well. Like, yeah, is he quiet? Yes. Is he Is he more flamboyant in the way he conducts himself off the ice in terms of dressing and like, he goes on like the Barstool podcast? Yeah, sure. But I still think that he's, I don't think he's like some sort of asshole like Kachuk or like some sort of cocky prick. Like I don't see that from Matthews at all. And I honestly, I don't really see that from Marner either. I think you're taking the Pionk incident out of context because listen, honestly, I would trip him too if some shitty second pairing or third pairing defenseman tried to hit me after the game was going in the empty net and they played terribly that game. Yeah, I'd tell him to go fuck himself in the post-game interview too. I like that about him. Fuck him.
All I'll say is that when I look at the head honchos on Winnipeg, I infinitely have more respect for their character than the head honchos on Toronto, and that being Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler. Those guys show more character than the faces of any franchise in the NHL, and that's why I'm rooting for them to win a cup.
No,
I agree with Nick here. I
disagree. I disagree, and I wish nothing for the failure of the Winnipeg Jets.
Oh my God! Hey, come on, man! Shifley's the coolest guy in the league.
You know what? That was wrong. I like Scheifele, but you know what? I don't see this at all. Every other team, they put up some gritty numbers, and every other team is like, oh, look at this, the grit, the heart and soul, and they'll lose like 5-2. But then when Toronto does it, it's like, oh, look at these guys, no heart. They're going to change the face of the franchise. Everybody loves hating the Leafs. That's what it is. Every other Canadian team loves hating the Leafs. That's all it is. It's just Toronto bias. That's all it is. From the rest of these leagues and these perceived. Winnipeg's one fucking squad either. So let's just be frank here. They've won nothing too.
Well, hold on. They went to a Western Conference Finals, didn't
Kevin
they?
Chevel, okay, sure, they've won nothing. They've made it. Yeah, they've advanced playoff rounds. To me, advancing playoff rounds isn't success. It's just it's winning, but it's not organizational. The goal is to win a cup, and none of these Canadian teams have. Kevin Cheveldaev has been the GM since 2011, and Dubas is on the hot seat.
Hold on. Me? I think I can contextualize this. Is that Winnipeg is a team where players are dying to leave the city. They've been burned by so many guys. Toronto's a place where guys are. Tavares wants to sign, and everyone's asking for more money. If Winnipeg wins, it's against all odds. That's why they're a good team to root for.
Well, hang on a second. Let me recontextualize this. Prior to the Babcock and Lou era, nobody wanted to sign in Toronto. That was like they couldn't get a big star since like Eric Lindros was the last big offseason signing the Leafs made prior to like the Babs Lou era where there was some respectability back to the franchise. So no, yes, I get the underdog story of Winnipeg being the small Canadian city or whatever, but I'm just really, as a Leaf fan, sick and tired of like, oh, look how gritty Montreal and Calgary and fucking Winnipeg is. The Leafs start playing better defensively all of a sudden. Well, their offense is dried up. Where's their offense? They never give them any benefit of the doubt. You know what? Maybe they shouldn't because they haven't won anything. But I think I just think it's ridiculous that like everyone's starting rooting for these Winnipeg and these guys. I don't know. It bothers me.
I think people, I didn't know we were in the Leafs segment just yet, but
no, it didn't. But see, everything relates back to the.
Well, you know what? It makes sense, Kyle. Just because I was going to ask you guys, like the North Division, how you see it now amid this huge trade. Who has the best center depth? And so it sounds like Joe would still have the Leafs number one. Would you have the same, Kyle?
Well, yeah. Well, here's what I'll say. I still think the Leafs in the regular season are going to be the most productive team. Like I could still see them finishing number one. I think they'll finish number two. But if we're talking playoff series, like what I saw from Dubois last year, going head to head versus Matthews, I'll take Winnipeg's playoff depth, center depth in the playoffs for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I still think the Leafs have the best center depth in the division. I think Winnipeg, no team in that division other than Edmonton has the franchise like superstars that Toronto has. Like what Edmonton and Toronto have in Draisaitl and McDavid and Matthews and Tavares.
I agree. I think the Leafs will probably finish one or two. They'll battle with Montreal all year. I think if I had to do a centers ranking in like center depth, and this is the whole division, I would say the Leafs. I would put Winnipeg at number two, and I'm only putting Edmonton at three because they have the best player in the world in Connor McDavid. I think he makes up for so much of that team's deficiencies, and that's it. But if we're talking about the playoff center depth, I agree. I think guys like Pierre-Luc Dubois and Scheifele and those guys are better suited to be playing quote unquote playoff hockey. But another thing we have to remember with the Leafs is that last year the Leafs shot a historic low in like 1.97%. I cannot see that happening again. Like I just simply can't. And I actually think that as a Leaf fan, this division is good for them because they're playing tight games every night and they're learning how to grind out wins. And their biggest problem was that, what was the biggest saying? You can't win every game 6-5. Well, they're not winning every game 6-5 now. They're winning games like 3-2, 4-3, and this could be good for them in the playoffs, right? So I don't know. I think we have to look at this Leaf team differently than we have to do last year. And I could all be wrong. It could blow up in my face again. But so far from what I've seen, like I think they're just a much better overall defensive team than they have been in years past.
You know what I would have liked, Joe? Like if I was to put myself in the seat of a Leafs fan, if I wanted anything from Toronto from this regular season, I wish a team like New York Islanders or even a Columbus was in this division with them. Like I want them to get reps, to get practice against a full-on shutdown team and figure out how to deal with that, Yeah. So when they run into that in the playoffs, they have some sort of semblance of what to do when that happens. Like when you look at this North Division, it's a lot of gunners, man. It's a lot of just gunslingers, which I think they play well against those teams, and I think they could have a lot of success. But if they run into one of those grindy like Islanders, Trotz teams, that's where I think this division could hurt them in the end. And a team like Winnipeg too, sure, or a team like Edmonton, like those guys with like high end offense and kind of silly looking defense cores. I think I'd like for them to get reps against other teams like that.
Yeah, and I noticed too that a lot of the teams now, like I've watched every Leaf game this year. I've actually tried to watch most of the North Division games when I can. I've noticed that when teams like Edmonton play the Leafs, they try to do what Columbus did, which is basically just clog up the middle of the ice, right? And I don't know if like the Leafs have exposed that in the last game they played, but I don't know if Edmonton has the defensive personnel for me to say as a Leaf fan, oh look, they're overcoming the trap. Right. So you're right. Yeah. I would like to see that. But the games against Winnipeg should be a good indication now that they have guys like Pierre-Luc Dubois on their team, should be a good indication of whether or not the Leafs can deal with the trap and playing in neutral ice. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, no, like definite upgrades to Winnipeg. I just the only point of contention I really had with this whole thing was just as Nick's characterization of Marner and Matthews. I just don't think that's true.
Joe, I still think they're franchise superstar players, and there's only 4 of those players in this division. Okay, and I said 2 are on Edmonton and 2 are on the Leafs. That's all I'm saying. But I still, when the playoffs come around, will root more for Winnipeg because of that character reason, unless things change.
I think that's a very arbitrary term. Like I just think it's a very
it is arbitrary.
Like,
it's just my opinion.
Borderline subjective term. I feel like this is something that I hear out of the mouth of like TSN like 650 in Winnipeg with like and it would just and there's no way to or someone from the Toronto Sun saying like, oh, the Leafs don't play big. Well, quantify that. Tell me what the hell that means. Like what distinguishes Mark Scheifele's character than Matthews? Is it the cowboy hats? Like what is it?
It's like, the personality he shows. He has shown he's the number one fan in the entire NHL. That guy watches more hockey than any player in the whole show.
So you're telling me if Matthews sat down on his couch after every game and watched hockey,
if he showed it, yeah, if the NHL made little featurettes of Matthews doing that and expressing his opinions on stuff, I'd like that very much.
But what on earth does watching hockey have to do with character?
It just shows personality. I can still
be an asshole.
It just shows personality.
Kyle watches hockey. He's still a schmuck, so it doesn't really relate to the character.
I'm just saying, the way Scheifele and Wheeler express their personality, I'm more fond of than the way Matthews and Marner express theirs.
I guarantee you, if Matthews was from Mark or St. Thomas or Erin, Ontario, and he had like a crew cut, and he showed up in like a suit and tie all day, you wouldn't say this. I'm gonna bet money that's the case. And if Marner didn't look like he was 12 years old, you wouldn't say that either. It's just it's a ridiculous perception thing, and I can't stand it. I cannot stand it.
Okay, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree. I really think it's one of those one of those subjective things.
And this is actually very odd because you and me really see, like me and you see eye to eye on a lot of hockey takes.
Oh, so, yeah, but this is one of those things when it comes to character, I'm just very passionate about it. And I think the Leafs, if you were to rank character in the North Division, the Leafs are a bottom half team.
Yes.
Okay, I disagree. I disagree. I think.
Like-
I don't know. I completely disagree. Like I think if we're ranking character, I put the Calgary Flames at the bottom because Matthew Tkachuk is a scumbag. So like,
Right,
where's that
might-
in the character list?
I might agree with
He's
Joe
a piece of
on the
shit.
bottom there. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'd agree. I'd have Winnipeg and Montreal at the top, and I would have Toronto in the tier of the bottom half.
What makes Ottawa have character? Like they suck. They lose every night. Why do they have character?
I'm not saying they have character. I didn't say the two of them. I'm just saying Winnipeg and Montreal to me show more character than the Leafs.
So the thing is, I like what you're doing is you're relating character to style of play. You're relating because you are a Jacques Lemaire, or sorry, what's his name? You are like a Guy Boucher. You're a Guy Boucher 1-3-1 Barry Trotz play defensive system. So you are relating character to teams that defend well. That's what you're basically doing, which is fine. And I can see that, but that's what you're doing. That's exactly now I figured it out. It has nothing. I guess it has nothing to do with the style. It's just if you defend well, you have good character. Apparently, okay.
Well, the Leafs showed me some defending well yesterday, and I'm still not necessarily equating character with them.
Yeah, I figured it out, Joe. I know what's going on here. Nick's using the word good character when he should be using the terms as in people I like to follow, people I'm interested in. You know, like that's what he's doing here. Like there's more interesting characters on Montreal. For like Drouin is an enigma. Like Mark Scheifele's an enigma. He's a cool, funny, quirky character. You know, I think that's what Nick's getting at here. I think that's what he's getting at.
Okay, if that's the case, then I completely agree with you. Yes, there's some interviews that Matthews gives where it feels like I'm watching paint dry. But I don't give a fuck if he's scoring 30 goals a year. And by the way, he also had in the playoffs last year, I just have the stats here, with Dubois guarding him, he had 6 points in 5 games. So that's not bad.
Not bad. Can't complain.
Not bad. Can't complain.
He did well. No, I remember Matthews really showed up that
he
series.
Did.
I remember that.
And we talked about the last show. Like the guys that didn't show up were Marner and Nylander and Kapanen, but Kapanen, lo and behold, left. I think those guys like Kapanen and Johnson, those guys had serious, like if you want to talk about poor character, Kasperi Kapanen was someone who had poor character. That guy, because it's not even just that he would just skate around there and do absolutely nothing. Like that. That's okay, sure. That I agree with you. But Matthews and Marner, I don't know. Marner's a good Canadian boy. Why don't you like him? He's from Thornhill. It would make Don Cherry proud.
So, Kyle, can you explain what Jake Muzzin did at the end of the game last night to young Matthew Tkachuk?
Yeah, I'll give my best rendition here. So obviously Tkachuk had that little run in with the goalie, with Jack Campbell. And then what Muzzin did, I think at the end of the horn, he kind of flicked the puck at Tkachuk. And then I saw a really great analysis of the video where Tkachuk, A, tried to catch it, failed. B, tried to fling it back at him, failed. And then C, went and attacked him. That was his last ditch effort to get back.
But he did have a big fight that night with the water bottle holder on the bench. So that's the one victory Calgary had last night.
Is Matthew Tkachuk
biggest what asshole?
I'd say yes. Like this
if
guy,
that's the case, yes.
I honestly hate having him on my fantasy team because I too hate Matthew Tkachuk for that series he played against Colorado a couple of years back.
Mm-hmm.
He almost should be in prison for some of the things he does.
You know what he is? He's like a big, like accidental on purpose guy, you know? Like, for example, like, I don't know if like, I'm not prepared to say that like the Jack Campbell incident the night before where he dropped his knee on his neck, he was intending to injure him, but he didn't get off right away. Like it seemed that like he knew exactly what he was doing. And that was a bit bush league to me.
Joe, I think I think everything he does is intentional, but you're right. He hides it well. I think that was intentional.
He loves to toe the line. He toes the line between like a dirty play and like, oh, I'm just going for the puck. He's masterfully walks that line, and the league knows he walks that line. You know, and he's not like a Brandon Gallagher, who Gallagher is a pest, but Gallagher doesn't do things on the ice where I'm like, okay, this guy's like intending to hurt people. Tkachuk to me reminds me more of like a Brad Marchand, where Marchand does things on the ice too that you're like, okay, that's an intent to injure. He's more than just a pest.
And he's one of those guys where he's like maybe the only guy in the league for me where I don't think he cares at all if he seriously hurts someone.
I agree.
Like he
agree
just
with
has
you.
that lack of just total lack of empathy in every sense. Like I think his brother Brady is like a lot better in this sense.
But Brady's
Brady
a true
plays
pest.
the line
Yes.
too, yeah. But he's like I've seen Matthew do things where I'm just like I am so disgusted at this player. Like when he was playing Colorado, he was in a scrum with Landeskog. He tried to gouge his eyes out with his fingers.
No, he's an asshole. And
I was
it's
oh my God.
I was just going to ask if he's the biggest sore loser in the NHL.
yes.
Oh, that's
One
where
of them.
where do you get off to, Nick?
Well, I just saw that reaction with the water bottles last night, and I like walking off the ice, just punching like the whole water thing, and I was just like, what a sore loser.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
This guy's he's an unprofessional guy. He's like full of like this animosity, this pride. It's like a very dark pride where he likes to be like the guy who's on the upper end of these like kind of like immature bouts, you know? And if he's not, then he's going to be all pissy, you know?
With that said, I'd still love to have him on my team because I do think he is maybe the best chirper in the entire NHL. And as Kyle knows in our history of 3-on-3, if you hear the chirps, it really affects your game. So I think that I will take him on my team any day, but I still stand by everything I've said.
Yeah, but what Muzzin did last night was great. Like it was like we beat you, and then he harmlessly like flipped the puck over to him, and he lost his mind. Like that's like the best clowning you can do to someone. Like I thought that was great. I like that more than if like Simmons would have like fought him.
No, I agree simply because you can imagine what Matthew Tkachuk would have been saying to the Leafs all game, and then they beat him, and then they kind of give that last jab. Like it's almost like don't fuck with this team kind of deal. Like we all saw the Cassian thing. We saw Cassian kind of got the upper hand at the end of the day, so to speak. But like you need to fight back on these kinds of guys. Like you can't just let them walk on you. And I think like thank goodness they did something about it. You know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. No. And even the other night when he put his knee on Campbell, like Bogosian like promptly shoved him off, which is like, you know, something I've been waiting for from the Leafs for like 3 years. Like, yes, like I want some guys to do that. So good on Zach Bogosian.
And you know what, Nick, I don't want this guy on my team because like I know what he's all about. And we're talking about character. I don't think I want to win with a guy like this. Like it just doesn't seem as pure. You know, I don't want to win with this kind of these kind of antics. I want to win the right way, you know?
Fair. Before we move on with this Leaf segment here, I sent you guys each the Mike Babcock explanation or the apology, so to speak. He made his debut with NBC. They dedicated a whole segment just to him getting to explain himself. Joe, I want to know, what was your instinctual reaction when you saw that clip?
You know what? Honestly, like I laughed at the start when he was talking about like fucking skiing and shit. Like I was just like, that's the most like Babs thing ever. I don't know. Like I think he's just like, listen, it's not just the Marner incident. Like the Marner incident, like even if it went down the way Babcock said, like okay, sure, like I can grant him that. But the reason why like I don't like Babcock is because like he always thinks that like I'm right and like my way is the best way possible. And that part at the end, that bullshit part at the end where he's like, oh, you know, I like to try new things every single year. I'm like, no, you don't. Because when you were on the Leafs and you were coaching the Leafs, you did the same thing in every playoff round you coached. You played the shit out of your third and fourth line, and it just happens to be the third best center in the league on your team, and you don't play him. So no, I think he was very disingenuous, and you know he's just doing it because he's on air, and like forget about that. Like I mean, like even like all the stuff he did with Modano and the scratching of Spezza and the Johan Franzen incidents, like he's just a hypocrite, and especially because I don't doubt his commitment to mental health. I think that's good that he does that. But do I think it's a bit hypocritical that these players come out and speak to him like this and he's still an advocate for mental health? Absolutely. Like I think that's kind of Bush League.
Yeah, I think this whole NBC shtick is just a big tactic to get him back into the league. I think that whole segment there was probably pre-recorded. He probably designed the questions that they would ask him. They probably briefed him religiously about what was going to happen. And they did a little segment before the game. They cut it. They edited it to whatever extent they wanted to. And that's what they aired. I think that was written in their contract. And I think this is all a little plan devised by him to get back into the league as soon as possible. That's what I think.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
And I don't think that's far fetched, and I don't think it's going to work because I think the attitude and all the mental health stuff you mentioned that has blackballed him. I mean, just hearing him try to explain that Marner situation just made no sense at all. Like yeah, he's owning up to it. That's all he's doing there. But him describing the tactic he was trying to employ made no sense. Like his explanation was basically Ian Lou wanted to bring out the best in those guys. That was his explanation. Like as if that's the only way to bring out the best in your players, by having them slander other players. Like where's that tactic come from? Yeah. So technically, I think people will see this and they will go, okay, no, I don't want this guy, indoctrinating this culture with my organization. And B, let's obviously not forget, when it just comes to being a coach, this guy of late has been ridden with failure. Eight playoff round losses of his last 9. And the one time he did win in Detroit, he arguably should have won even more because that was a dynasty. So that just performance related, and now all this cultural and this like mental health related issue, I think he will not coach in the league again.
I think the only team. Well, no, yeah. So that was going to be like my next question. I was going to put to you guys, like, do you think he'll coach again? Like, if I had to say, like, I was actually having this conversation today with somebody else, and I think that the only way that he'll coach, like, the only team he could possibly coach is that, like, it's like a veteran team. Like, I don't think any team that's a young team would ever want this guy for player development ever again. Like, I don't think you can put him in a locker room with a team that's rebuilding and has talent. I think the only way you could have him is like a veteran team that can win. They just need like a little push over the edge, like some discipline, maybe. But I don't think that like any young team would ever want to trust him again with their young stars. I mean, theoretically, like basically, like he wasted 3 years of 2 of the best players in the league with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner in the playoffs. And I'm not saying that all on Babcock, but some of the coaching decisions he made in back-to-back game 7s against the same opponent, like that's like unforgivable.
Yeah, just quickly on that, I don't think there's any question he'll be a coach in this league once again.
Well, that's a hot take.
Joe's probably onto something. It's probably going to be with a more veteran win-now team, but you have to consider how much this guy is respected by like these old school like big wigs in this sport. Like a lot of people have trusted him. Like Brendan Shanahan brought him on specifically. Hockey Canada brass has always brought him on specifically. This guy's name still rings bells in these veteran NHL executives' minds. And I think that will play a lot into, hey, we have a struggling franchise. We have, we've got a lot of veteran guys. Like, I think people are going to want to bring this guy in, give him a shot. I think it's a no-brainer for some teams. So I definitely see this happening again.
Yeah. That's
why would you give another shot to a guy who's been paid the most money out of any coach in NHL history to lose 8 of 9 of your last playoff rounds? What faith does that give you in that man?
Well, I don't know, Nick. He's a well-respected coach. He's had success. Like,
is he well-respected? I'm not sure respect is a word I'd be throwing around.
See,
I don't know. Ask Darren Dreger. Like he had a radio hit and he named off about 4 legendary hockey names who very, very, very much respect this guy. That's where
I'm sure you can name many more that don't respect him after the events that have fallen the past 10 months.
Well,
10 months. Forget 10 months. Forget about 10 months.
Yeah, exactly.
His whole coaching
10
career.
years.
His whole coaching career.
Yes, sir.
Like think about just take the Mike Modano incident where he scratched him. Like that is that not alone just like why the fuck would I ever want this guy in my organization again? And it's all good and well when you're winning. But now you have like again, like Nick said, what was it, 8 of 9 playoff appearances? He hasn't made it out of the first round.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Why the hell would you ever take a chance on someone like that? Like,
then why did Shanahan and those guys bring him in? They knew about the Mike Modano thing. They knew about everything. They knew about all the Detroit like lack of success. They knew, but why did they have this guy at the forefront of the biggest NHL franchise in the entire NHL?
Because in the NHL, as soon as you get that Stanley Cup on your resume, people will overlook whatever character flaws you have, and that's a problem. And that actually goes for all sports, but especially in the NHL. Always won a cup. Always won a cup. Tortorella always won a cup. He just chased one of his biggest stars out of town, but he's won a cup. We'll keep him on. It's the silverware that keeps them on, and I think that hides some of the flaws that Babcock has, and they definitely knew about it too. Like, obviously they did, and I agree with you.
Well, then wouldn't you say someone's willing to do that again?
I just don't know if it's like the media perception of him now versus when he was hired from Toronto. I think it's very much different now. Like, it's more out in the open than it ever was. And that's simply because of the fact that he got chased out of Toronto. Like, I think the media hostility and the hostility towards him from players and media and hockey personnel alike is way more now than it ever was when he got hired by the Leafs. I think that's distinguishing.
Let me just conclude this segment with this thought, Kyle. Pierre Maguire has better odds of becoming the next GM of the Pittsburgh Penguins than Mike Babcock has becoming a coach in the NHL.
That is such baloney, my friend.
That might
baloney.
be too much, but Pierre Maguire
with the news today, I wouldn't write it. I would not write that off.
What news?
Oh, Jim. Yeah, you got fired.
Jim Rutherford stepping down.
He resigned. Yeah.
Come on, you're a load of shit.
There's an open vacancy, and if there's one vacant.
No
if there's
way.
one vacancy he's gonna get, it's Pittsburgh, baby.
No way.
Him and Mario. Mario owns the team, and him and Mario are best friends.
Every earthly possession I have, I will stake on that bet if you want to.
Listen, the Arizona rumors, they didn't make sense. You know, I couldn't see Pierre and his little bald head surviving in a hot climate like that. But I think Pittsburgh, I see the fit.
Well, let me say one more thing. Let me ask you guys one more question. Can we completely discount 2010, 2014, and 2016 Team Canada teams? Can we discount those? Is it just tournament stuff? Like, those are three dominant ass teams with very, very, very little weaknesses in system or management or whatever you want to say. Can we just throw that away?
I think Nick could have coached those teams and they would have won.
Come on. That's not fair. That is not fair.
No,
they were good teams. They were good teams, but they're
talented teams. They've got great managers designing those teams. He had great assistant coaches on his staff. I think he's far from the reason. I think.
Yeah. If you're gonna put to what made Team Canada win, I don't think you can. I think you have to give Babcock like the smallest amount of credit possible. It's not like he didn't assemble the team. He's behind the bench, but do you really have to do that much coaching when you have like Crosby and Ginla in their primes and the Niedermeyer? Like, I don't know. It just, I don't know.
He was chosen 3 times, 3 separate times. He was chosen out of anybody. He was chosen 3 times. Doesn't that say something?
I don't know if it does.
It at least says that he's respected as a coach, and I think he still is. Like, I think this whole Toronto thing.
I don't think he still is.
I think you guys are making too big of this whole Toronto thing because it's Toronto media puffing it up. I think this would have evaporated in a city like Columbus, evaporated and not been a thing at all.
Well, like this, it goes for the Dubois deal and the Laine deal. Only time will tell. So I think we've all stated our opinions, and again, we're split here. It's been a very divisive episode so far.
Yeah, it's been a very heated debating.
But time will eventually tell who was right.
Yeah.
We will have to move on. And I'm going to take us to the rookie segment. Kyle, there's a lot of rookies here I want to cover. We're 2 weeks into the season. There's been a lot to observe. I have 5 names written on here.
Can I guess?
Yeah, go ahead.
Laugh, Ty Smith, Dylan Cousins, Kaprizov, and Tim Stützle or Keandre Miller.
Wow. Okay. So I did not have those last two, and I did not have Ty Smith.
Oh, well, you
should.
should.
But I did have Bowen Byram.
Why
Okay.
isn't Ty Smith on your list? That's the question.
And I did have Connor McMichael, who made his debut the other night.
No, really? Did he?
Yes,
wow.
so I had
Huh.
McMichael, Cousins, Byram, Kaprasov, and Laff. But if you want to
Wow.
elaborate on those other few, the Smith, the Miller, I'd love to talk about Miller. And who was the other one you mentioned?
Stutzel.
And Stutzel. Okay, so where do you want to start here? You want to start with the big boy, or do you want to work our way up?
Let's work our way up. I'm not ready
Okay.
for that.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I got to get this beer in me first.
Yeah.
Jesus
Okay.
Christ.
Hey, I'll open the floor to Joe. Actually, of all those rookies we mentioned, is there one in particular that you want to give a shout out to? Because I know you may not be as well versed on the rookie class, but you might have a name or two you want to shout out here.
Yeah, Adam Brooks. No, I'm kidding. No,
Such a pure-hearted guy.
Yeah, no, I think Kaprasov has been awesome. Like, you know what? Like, I've never tuned into like a Minnesota Wild game before in my life, but like the one game I did, it was the first game of the season. Was it the first game where he won it in overtime? Anyways, he's a very exciting player. Like, I think it's awesome. Also, Ty Smith, solid defenseman. He's already got 6 points. It's not bad on a New Jersey team that I didn't think was going to be that good, although they're pretty feisty, the Devils team. They're kind of a pesky team. And another person I wanted to mention, I think Dylan Cousins is good. I think he's going to be good on Buffalo.
Yeah.
I think he's a good little player, yeah. The one thing that I agree with you, Kyle, and I saw your tweet. I'm assuming it was you that's tweeting from the Rink Moose account that talked about Lafreniere. And you're right. He's actually more of a project than I thought he was going to be. Like, you're 100% right. Like, watching him play, like, I agree with you. Like, I don't think I thought he was going to be more dominant than he has been, and I've watched a couple of Rangers games, specifically the last two against the Penguins, and I don't think he's as dominant as I thought he was going to be, and so I can completely agree with you on that.
I'll stop
Joe,
you right there,
yeah,
Joe.
Exactly.
We're not ready yet, Joe.
Hold your horses there, Joe. I got a whole page on this.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know. I just you could have told me.
But I agree. Hey, I agree with your Dylan Cousins. I think I watched the Buffalo game last night against the Rangers. That was my first Buffalo game I watched.
You poor soul.
Oh, just wait till you hear about my poor soul with these games I've been watching. But this cousin kid, I mean, I love him. I think he's like a quiet assassin. Like the guy's just he's great, but you don't really notice him. He doesn't really stick out. Like he's not like Stutzel where he comes, skating up the ice with his head up with the stick and he's ready to make a play. He's a kind of guy who's just situationally aware, finds his pockets in the ice. You saw that with the goal last night, a power play where he's right in the middle. Right in that slot, they give him it. He blasts a one-timer past Georgiev. It was a great shot. He just knows where to be. He has the hockey IQ to compete in the NHL right now, and they're giving him ample opportunity to play on that second power play. And they've even put him into the top 6 at certain points. So, in his attitude, he just looks like he's having fun. He's smiling all over the ice. He's probably in my top 3. If I had to rank 3 rookies so far, it would be him. Keandre Miller and Kirill Kaprasov. And then, with respect to Miller, I think he's been fantastic. I just love his poise. He reminds me a lot. He's just a big defenseman who moves the puck really well. He has a very calm demeanor, like a Seth Jones kind of demeanor. I think he's a star in the making. And it's only a matter of time. Good on New York trading up in that draft. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. They traded up like 2 or 3 picks and they got the guy they wanted. And it's really paying off. And then I can't really talk about Ty Smith very much. I have not watched many Devils games. I just see the numbers. So that's all I got on those 3. What do you say, Kyle?
Dylan Cousins, great point. The main thing with him, always got a smile on his face. Like you said, like, even when he has a shot, even when things like don't go right for him, he's always smiling. Like, This is what I wanted out of Laugh, like this, like happy, like I'm happy to be here and I'm putting in the work. One thing I want to say about him, physical tools. He's got the size, he's got the speed. He looks like he's got the shot to be this, to be a great player, to be a very good top 6 player. And then once he figures out, little nuances about the timing in the game, I think he's going to be a force. Kaprasov, I'm going to totally not even consider as a rookie because, boys, think about this. Kaprizov was drafted in the McDavid draft. He was drafted in the Marner draft. Barzell, like this guy's old as fuck. This guy has just been marinating in the KHL. And when you consider that, I don't think great player for sure. I
So
don't want to consider
he's like
him
a Panarin type. He's like a Panarin type player when he came in, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, and everyone had that debate, him versus McDavid for the Calder. I don't think these guys should be considered at that age, but I digress on that one. One more thing on Ty Smith. Just this guy's been like flying under the radar, just hiding behind guys like Evan Bouchard in his draft year, and then he's hiding behind guys like Bo Byram and Cale Makar, these kinds of guys. But he's very talented. He's always had the numbers to compete, and he's got he's a point per game defenseman. If he's not fully cemented on that top power play right now, then he will be very shortly. This guy's got a ton of talent. We saw him in the World Juniors. I was going to pick him up in fantasy, but there's simply no room on my team. So if someone listening out there wants to do that, I think the good chance he puts up decent numbers right now. One thing on Tim Stützle, I know, Joe, you had him, didn't you? You had him on fantasy, recently dropped.
Yeah, I dropped him. Too many minuses for me.
Yeah, so really great first goal. Really, like you can tell the skill is right there, but he's going to be a ton of minuses. And I think the quote from Yahoo Fantasy was, Stützle has nightmare of a game on Monday. It's like they got lit up for like a -4. So,
yeah,
hey, there's going to be growing pains, right? Like it's not just a laugh thing. Like there's growing pains. These guys didn't get a training camp and all that kind of thing. We'll get into that later, but he looks good. I like him. He's going to be just fine. Skills there, but as Joe said, maybe not the year, right?
That's the thing. Like now, and this goes for all sports. And as a Dolphins fan, I'm experiencing that now in Miami. Like when rookies come into the league now, we expect them to be great already. And if they're not great, then all the hype starts talking about, are they really that good? Did they make a mistake drafting them? And I don't think they did. I think Stützle's a great player. But, very few players in this league are going to come onto the scene and be as dominant as a Matthews or a McDavid is in their rookie year, right? So you just have to give it time, right? But from what I've said, I watched Ottawa twice against the Leafs, and I watched them the other night against Vancouver. I think Stützle he's got the skill, he's got the hockey IQ. He's just got to work on it. And then from a fantasy perspective, unless it's a keeper league, our league is a keeper league, but I still can't deal with the minuses.
Yeah. A two-man keeper league is not appropriate for that kind of player. Right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I still think the Stützle opinion warrants a little more, it warrants a little more road here, just because I think he obviously had that injury. He just came back the other night. I think we need to give it some time before we can give kind of a full brief picture review on that. And then as far as McMichael, I know he made his debut. I didn't really catch much of that game. I was hoping Josh could elaborate on that because Josh is a big McMichael fan, as we know, Kyle.
Yeah.
So why don't you give your review on Bowen Byram, and then we will move on to the main event.
Right. Bowen Byram, man, he's just looked better and better as the games have gone on. Like I was surprised on how poised he looked. I think last game he had 21 minutes of ice time, and I think he even got a little bit of power play time in there as well. Honestly, like to me, he's a top 4 defenseman already. Like there's no question that he belongs on the second pairing there. He's actually looking very solid defensively. I was very surprised at that. His outlet passes are awesome. You saw his first assist there, which was a beautiful cross ice pass. Forget who it was to, but it was really great to see. This guy looks calm. Like it's really interesting. He's grown a lot in the last year. He looks very calm, very poised, and expect him to start pushing the envelope. Like I don't think you can take this guy out of the lineup right now. The way he's playing, like just very solid. Where Cale Makar is like that pure offense. Like I think Bowen Byram has shown he can be a little bit more stabilizing the defensive zone. Sometimes Cale Makar can get a little lost from what I see, but this guy's got it all, man. I'm super, super pleased with what I've seen.
The rich get richer in Colorado with defensemen, eh?
Oh my God. Amazing.
Ridiculous.
Amazing.
Ridiculous.
Nick, what do you think?
When I handed it off to you for Byram, I ran out of the room to take a leak. and that's when I disconnected.
Yeah, so I gave my Byram, and I just wanted to get if you've got an opinion on how he's been so far.
I haven't seen much of him, to be honest. But I've seen his numbers. His ice time's only been going up, which is a great sign. And he got an assist the other night. He's been generating shots on goal. He has yet to crack the power play, so I guess it's only a matter of time there. And then speaking of matter of time, it sounds like he's going to stick around, which is a pleasant surprise. Like, I don't know if you've heard otherwise, but with the trading of Ian Cole to Minnesota, I think that was all designed just to get him in there. And at this point, I think they've liked enough of what they've seen, and they know how dejecting it would be for him to play another year in the WHL. I just think they have no choice at this point but to keep him around.
Well, yeah, it's a shame you didn't hear my my analysis there. You asked me the question and then leave. That's very nice of you, but there's no way this guy's going anywhere, Nick. Like, if you see him play, like, he looks like he's a legitimate, ready for top 4 kind of defensive minutes. Like, he actually looks more stabilizing the defensive end than Cale Makar does. And then you've got like the outlet passes. Like, he just looks calm. He looks ready. He's not going anywhere. He might not even get any more scratches this year. Like, there's no way you can take him out.
Wow. Now. So you must feel
good,
terrible
Nick. Like,
that you didn't pick him up. You must feel terrible.
No, I'm not saying he's going to put up numbers. I'm just saying he fits right in. And if he gets a spot on the power play, it'll be power play 2. And then, it's not going to be like lucrative defensive numbers. It's just this guy's ready. I think it's only a matter of time. Like I said, right now their blue line on the second power play is Devon Taves and Girard. I think it's only a matter of time before he replaces Devon Taves on the power play there. Agreed.
That would be my prediction.
Yeah, Colorado is so good on like the power play that they're one of the only teams like that fucking has on one of their power play units like 2 defensemen at the blue line, which is very rare these days. So like that's awesome.
Yeah,
good for them.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
They're the one team to have scored more power.
Because I believe in the first unit, McKinnon still plays the point with Makar. But I know on the second unit, if it's Taves and Girard, then that's 2 defensemen, which is incredible. And if Byram can play that role, like that's,
They're the one team in the league who scored more power play goals than the Leafs.
Yeah, interesting.
1-2 respectively, those 2 teams.
Oh God, I would love a playoff. I would love a playoff matchup. I know the Leafs would get smacked, but just to see that offensive talent would be great.
Good for the league. That'd be good for the league.
Oh, great for the league. Well, listen, no one wants to see Dallas and Tampa Bay again. Let's be real.
No way.
No one wants that.
I was so disappointed, man.
The only thing that could have been worse was an Islanders Dallas final. That would have been by far the worst.
Agreed. But Bettman would have like actually changed some rules around if that were the case.
Yeah, he would have eliminated one of the teams. They would have found like steroids in one of their lockers. It would have been like Dodgeball the movie, and they would say, "Okay, you guys are disqualified," and bring back Crosby.
Yeah. All right, Nick, you want to do this?
I'm ready.
Oh God, I'm so excited.
I gotta go on video for this one.
I'm so excited.
I even cracked a rare beer for this one.
Whoa! Hey, is that a sign of sadness, Nick? Do we need to call you? Do we need to show up at your door?
No, not yet.
I'm gonna send you a care package. That's what I'm gonna do.
That would be nice. Okay, so just so it's on the record, so everyone knows, I spent a 6th round pick, 52nd overall, to draft Alexis Lafreniere.
That was you.
My most anticipated rookie prospect in my history of watching the NHL. I had to get my hands on him before Kyle. I did just 1 round early before Kyle was going to get him.
I was going to go 7.
Yep. And I watched his debut with Kyle with much anticipation. I have watched this team more than any other team so far this season. And that speaks volumes because I usually watch all the Leaf games, all the St. Louis games, Vegas. Those are my teams. But this team has gotten the most attention. 6 games so far.
Yeah.
And it has probably been the most painful 6 games of my life. Having to watch I cannot explain further how painful it is to watch a game when all you care about is just one player, because you're only getting 25% of the action. If the player is on a bottom six, he's not getting much action of those lines. He's not getting much ice time. You're having to constantly be on social media checking line combos and all the details. It's a pain in the ass. It's been extremely infuriating. That's point number one. When it comes to the player himself, I mean, yeah, it goes without saying. He has been a disappointment. He basically, the best way I'd sum it up in the most succinct, brief way I can, as any good lawyer would, as Joe knows, is
what do I know about being a good lawyer? I'm kidding. Continue.
He looks like a guy who still thinks he's in the queue, where when he has the puck, all things slow down for him. He's in the fucking Matrix, and he can just dazzle and razzle and make whatever fucking play he needs to make. That's what it looks like. That's what he thinks he's in. And then he wakes up mid-play and realizes he's got a guy coming for him, and then he gets laid on his ass. So that would be my number one observation. This is a guy whose strength is smarts and hockey sense and passing. And we've seen, glimpses of that. He was on the 6-5 at the end of the game last night. He had some great plays. He's had some great chemistry at times with some of the big boys. Like great little plays you'll see. Like, oh my God, yes, I can see it. But most of the time, he looks like a guy who's not delivering in that respect. And I think, as Joe said, it's a project. It's going to take some time. At this point, I'm not hoping for any numbers anytime soon. All I'm crossing my fingers for is like the last 10 games of this season. He has like 8 points in his last 10 games, or he has a point per game in the last 10 games of the season, and it shows me enough to keep him. And that's my best case scenario. I don't really care what he does these next few games. I know at some point he will deliver. Enough scouts have scouted him. They've spent enough tireless nights in these cold Quebec arenas to talk about how good he is. They're not going to be that wrong. This isn't going to be Kaapo Kakko from last year. It's not going to be Jack Hughes. He will get it together. You just have to be patient. And I will be patient. I will not be dropping this player. And I will wait till the end of the year to make that decision if I think he has redeemed himself to the extent to keep him. But so far, that would be my salient point. He's a guy whose strengths, being hockey sense and skill and passing, just haven't shown yet. And that's a problem. He's not like Byfield, where his size is just contagious. Like, it just shows itself. You don't even need to watch a whole game. You just see it from the get-go. Or Stützle with his speed. These guys each have their own distinct skill that just lights up on your TV screen when you turn on the game. This guy, he's a little different. His strengths are a little more nuanced, and you really got to watch a little longer to see. I still think he will be a star. He has done too well at the international stages of hockey to be shit. And we've seen that with Jack Hughes. He had a terrible rookie year last year, and he's been lighting up the lamp. And I wish I was Michael Robson and I picked him up before anyone else. But I think you just got to be patient with this kid. He's the kind of guy. He's a project, as Joe said, and that's where I stand so far. And I hope by game 56. He's putting up, 2 or 3 points in a game. He's smiling with the lads, and that's what I'm hoping for. So there you go, Kyle. I'll pass the baton to you.
Nick, I think you care too much about fantasy production for you to keep him if he's not producing. My hot take is he'll drop him in a couple of weeks.
Kyle, no, Joe. As I told Kyle and Michael, he's the face of my team. Like, as much as he is not produced on a fantasy level, the energy he brings to the dressing room every night. Like this guy is rallying the troops every night, and it's leading me to being second place so far. So the intangibles, he's bringing. His character's fantastic. He's still very positive in the room. He's great in the room. I can't afford to drop him. He's bringing everyone's spirits up every night. I love it. Joe, if I traded him or dropped him, the fans would come after me. I'd be fired. My team would be no more.
Okay.
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't
Kyle,
know.
if you need a tissue or something, let me know, buddy. It's okay. Let it out.
I'm just going to try to be as distinctly honest as possible. I think of any player in this league, of any prospect we've seen in the last decade, the word enigma would most relate to this player. And for those who don't know, I've been following this guy's career for the last 3 years. On the very first couple episodes of the Rink Moose Hockey Podcast, we had a Lafreniere tracker from like day one. This guy was always on our radar. The thing about him is he can go from looking like a total goof, like a total idiot, like a guy who can barely skate, to someone who dominates play and makes plays that you have no idea where he thought of that. I've been extremely disappointed with the start that we've had, that this player's had. Like Nick, probably I've watched 96% of every Rangers game. They've been my most watched team as well. It's enough to make me sad every time I turn on the TV. I'll give you the bad. This is what I'm seeing that I simply cannot stand. First and foremost is his skating. He's got a lot of work to do in this department. I knew his skating was kind of awkward. His balance seems a little bit odd. His top speed has never been, elite, but we were always told it was above average, his skating. It needs work. His lateral movement needs work. He's not getting to the zones he needs to get to. You notice right away in the defensive end when he's covering his defenseman at the point. He's not getting there. His decision-making, surprisingly enough, from a guy who's got near generational hockey sense, as some pundits would assume, has been, like Nick said, QMJHL level. Like, I think he's in a calibration mode right now. He thinks he's got more time than he does, and it's just not there. Like, guys are closing in on him faster than he ever thought possible. I'm going to come back to this point in a second because I think there's reasons behind this, and I think there's reasons where, like, methods in which he can improve. Big thing for me, his lack of physical play. Pierre touched on this. Why did this guy get so much hype is because he's an all-world talent who also lays body, who also plays physical, who's also this grinder type of player. This is what we saw in the World Juniors. We saw that highlight of him laying the guy out and then setting up his man like, oh, holy shit, total package. His physical play has been non-existent at this level. Not only is he not laying the body, but he's not winning puck battles. And there's no reason for it because the guy weighs nearly 200 pounds. Is it all like 200 pounds of fluff? I'm not sure. This is a problem for me as well. Top that off with, if you're not putting up the numbers, I at least want to see you hustle, move your feet, and look like, you're going 110%. I'm not seeing that quite as much as I'd like to. No, he's not dogging it out there. But I just like to see, if you're in a slump, I want to see you like really bust your ass. And then the other thing is his hesitation. I think this plays into the whole package a lot, is that he's hesitating to make plays. He's not yet sure of himself. In junior and where he's had success, he's playing very instinctual. This is a kind of player where if his number one trait is his brain, he's trying to think of where plays are happening before they happen. He's trying to trust his gut. He's trying to make those behind, like, no-look plays. That instinct isn't there yet, so he's hesitating. He's trying to head up and, like, should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I do that? So that's really in his head. There's a lot in that brain right now, just kind of clogging things up. I think that's a big part of what's going on here. To sum up the bad, I think I'm not seeing a lot of the physical tools that I'd like to out of a first overall pick. And I think he's got a long way to go to become a star. I definitely think he's gonna get there, but he's got a long way to go. Now, here's what I call the hope section. It's probably one of the hardest situations a first overall pick has ever had to endure. Lack of exhibition games, lack of a long training camp, the rookie tournament that they often have in the summer, that hasn't been there. He played his last real game in March. So that's a long layoff here. I mentioned those lack of playing times, the high pressure, like New York's a massive market. This is one of the top 3 biggest markets, and he's one of the most hyped first overall picks in a long time, probably since Austin Matthews. And it's all kind of conglomerating and getting to him in a way. Now, this is a kid who, for for the last 4 years, he's always been the best player on his team. From the moment he stepped into the QMJHL, he's been the best player on his team. You can add that into international tournaments minus one World Junior Championship tournament. That one time he was out of his element there, but he was still able to lay some physical play. I think this is a player who is not good yet at being not the best player on his team. He's got to acclimatize to not being the best guy, to not being the guy where the offense runs through you. Right now, he's chasing NHL play, and what you'll probably notice is when he comes into his own as an NHL player, the play will run through him. Like, it was so obvious in the World Juniors, his second time round. They're like, okay, this is our guy. Everything's going to run through this kid. And he was able to slow down the play to his desire. He was able to do whatever he wanted. That's the kind of guy that's the kind of game he's suited to, being the best player. And I think that the brain just needs to acclimatize. And I know this is running long, but he compares to guys who have a cerebral type game, like a Scheifele, like a Draisaitl, like a Kucherov, where the skills don't immediately pop out at you, but it's the brain that's processing at such a speed. And I think these players take time. Like he doesn't have the tremendous shot like an Austin Matthews, the speed of a McDavid, or anything like that. Like the skills, you wouldn't even say, oh, this guy isn't a first overall pick. But when he puts it together, the brain will kind of elevate every skill he has. And I hope he can get there. But I don't think it's going to be this season now. I think it is a project. I think he's got a lot of work to do. And hopefully he can start changing some of those little nuanced things. And I am worried. Yeah, I'm worried, man. Like it's a fact. I didn't think this would be the case. And I think there's definitely reason to be concerned out there that he's not going to reach that lofty expectation that I had for him, which was like an Eichel type level of player.
Well, listen, to be fair, he's played 6 games.
I know,
so,
Joe.
Listen,
hey,
I don't follow him as close as you do, but like I said at the top of the segment, like there's such an expectation for guys to be like produce right away, and I guess the difference in this case that you might be concerned is because Lafreniere was touted as a generational player. And the fact that he's falling short of it right now is concerning. But like you said, like if you agree that he has all these the mental aspect of his game, it's so strong. It might just take time for him to find it. And the 2 games I saw against New York, to be honest, against Pittsburgh, I wasn't impressed personally. But then again, I only saw 2 games. But again, like it might just take him time to develop because, like you said, like when I watched Stützle play against the Leafs, he only scored 1 goal, but I noticed him out there. He was fast. Right. Like I noticed him out there immediately. I didn't notice Lafreniere at all when he was playing against the Penguins. So that might be a little concerning. But like I said, I think you just got to give it some time with him. Yeah. Like he will be okay. Like I think he'll be a good player. You just got to give it some time.
Well, that's the thing, Joe. I think you're right. It is a short sample size. But why I'm reacting like this is because my expectation of him is the Matthews, the Eichel category of player. Right. That's where I've always placed him. And if those 2 guys in any 6-game sample size in their rookie career, you'd know they were there, that they were special. You would know, oh, that guy's going to be amazing. Maybe he's not putting up points right now, but I noticed something in Eichel, Matthews, these kind of guys, and me not seeing that really scares me. In even a 6-game sample size, because I want to see something. Like Nick's talking about little flashes, but they're not like so flashy that I am not worried. You know, I am very worried about this.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you had to say a prediction, both of you, to like how many points, let's say the over under at, I don't know, let's say 35 points. Well, or what do you think? It's a better question, but I don't want to do that. What do you think is like a failure for him points wise this year?
I say 20.
20
would be a big failure.
Nick?
20 would be a big failure. Eh? So what did Jack Hughes have last year? Like 20 or 25?
I'll look it up.
So in that range, Nick, is where the Jack Hughes
that would be my barometer. Like if he has a worse point per game than Jack Hughes last year, I would call it a disappointment.
Last year, let's see, Jack Hughes finished, well, he only played 61 games. Yeah, he finished with 21 points. But this year, Jack Hughes has played 6 games. He already has 7 points. So again,
Right. But regardless of what Hughes has done this year, so it's a 56 game season this year. Last year he played 61, and he had 21 points.
Yes.
So that range 23ish.
So I would say like if he doesn't have over 25 points, it's a disappointing season.
Okay.
Call
So
it a disaster.
For the record, Joe, the Vegas over under, or not Vegas over under. What am I saying? But like the projected Yahoo point was 40 points.
Oh, so I was selling him short with 30. I thought 30 was hot.
We're all But based on what I've seen in this 6-game sample size, that needs to be adjusted dramatically. And so if it's not over 25, I think it's a major disappointment. I will say two final things that might affect that. The first is that, and there's good news and bad news. The first is good, the second's bad. The good news is watching this Ranger team, watching all their games, listening to Coach Quinn talk every interview, following all the guys on The Athletic, they don't have a lot of guys to displace him. Like the good thing with this team is that there aren't guys. Like Kyle keeps saying they're going to bench him or they're going to put him in the bottom 6 for the whole season. They can't do that. Not because he's playing great. They just can't do that because there's no one else to take those spots. Like no one on this, their best bottom 6 player, Philip Cheadle, got injured yesterday. He's out for the next 6 weeks. Like their bodies are falling on the forward
I didn't know that. He got hurt.
I didn't know that either. Yeah.
Yeah, he got hurt and he's gone for 6 weeks and he's their third line center. Like for a team that's already depleted at center. They just lost another center. So there you go. So they don't have guys to bring up to displace him. So that's, as long as he's healthy, he's going to get his chances. That's observation 1, and that's a positive.
Yeah, they're rolling with Colin Blackwell and Brett Howden as their bottom 2 centers.
Yes, sir. The bad news is that they're 1-4-1 and currently reside at the very basement of the standings with Ottawa. How much would a negative culture? They've lost 4 straight 1-goal games. These have been crushing games to watch if you're a Ranger fan.
Yes. Oh,
I'm a Laff fan, not a Ranger fan. But if I'm a Ranger fan, these are crushing losses.
that Pittsburgh one was a dagger.
Yep.
Man, even last night, they were up 2-1 against Buffalo and they coughed up the lead, lost 3-2 in regulation.
Oh, my
Terrible.
God.
And if they lose tomorrow against Buffalo's second last in that division, if they lose tomorrow, that's 4 points you've lost to one of those teams you got to catch. So that tomorrow's a huge game. But the point is they're 1-4-1. If they keep losing at this rate, how does he cope with a losing culture? We're so used to seeing him be Mr. Positive, smiling on the bench, joking with his teammates. If this is a losing season like this, how much does this change his attitude in his season? How much does that affect him? How mentally strong is he to overcome that? That's what I'm interested in seeing. Because the way it looks right now, that looks like where it's headed. Because this Quinn guy, he's mashing the lines. Like every game is just fucking guys flying all over the place. And as someone who thinks they know a lot about coaching, that is the sign of a guy who looks like he's lost. Like he's just throwing paint at the wall and hoping it sticks.
He's got the blender going.
Yes, sir. And that's what's going on right now, and it's not a good look. And he's searching for something. He's searching for something to keep his job.
Yeah, and I want to introduce our episodic Nick's coaching conundrum section, and I want to say, Nick, say you're the coach of the New York Rangers, Mr. Coach. Hello, sir. What should I do at practice today? What do you do with this team? What do you do with this situation? How do you best develop this player? Because honestly, I think there's something to be said for like he hasn't earned this ice time that he's getting. He hasn't earned top line minutes. Like, do you teach him a lesson or do you keep throwing him out there and hoping that he gets a point and that'll get momentum going for him?
I don't think he's just like any other prospect where you have to groom them and make them earn it. I think this is a guy who has enough pedigree and has built enough clout in his junior career to warrant all the opportunity to succeed. And I like what Ferraro said when I sent you that clip. This isn't a guy you can bury and put in the Quinn bin. They're calling it the Quinn bin if you're not on his good side. And I don't think this is a guy you can just bury in there. It will demoralize him. And if you're Coach Quinn, you got to give him every chance to succeed. You got to give him different looks. Try him with Zibanejad. Try him with Panarin. Try him with Kreider. See what works. And because if you don't, you're going to hear it from management. I would like, if I'm being the coach, this is Nick's coaching segment. I'm going to hear it from management if I'm not giving him the minutes, because the fans at home watching on TV, they want to see Lafreniere. That's going to sell jerseys. They don't want to see him playing 13, 14 minutes a night with Brett Howden and Philip Gauthier. You know, that's not going to sell jerseys. What's going to sell jerseys is playing with Zibanejad and Panarin every night and being on the top power play. So I think A, from a marketing standpoint, to keep my job, that's important. And 2, to bring out the best in this player who has done enough in his amateur career to warrant quote unquote VIP treatment. You know, because he's not just like any other prospect.
But don't you think like this is a lot, like the way he's playing right now is probably the product of not playing like competitive hockey in over a year? Like, think about it. Like, he missed the World Juniors. He didn't have training camp. Like, this could all just be like these first 2 weeks might be like his exhibition games.
Yeah,
like, this is his version of training camp. So to your
Austin
point,
Matthews, he scored 4 goals in his first game, right?
Yes.
Well, he had 6 exhibition games before that. So maybe these are just last 6 exhibition games.
That's what I was trying to say. So to your point, and I agree with you, if you want to get the most out of him, he should be playing 23, 24 minutes a night to get him acclimated to the NHL game, because he and I actually think he would have benefited greatly from going to the World Juniors and playing with that Canadian team. So yeah, this could just be the issue of a guy who hasn't played competitive hockey in a long time. And a lot of the observations I'm hearing from you and Kyle, you guys have watched him more than me this year, is that he looks like he's still back in the queue. So maybe that's what this is. This is maybe the acclimation to the NHL. And, you just got to give it some time. And you're right, you don't throw him in the Quinn bin. You keep playing him.
I desperately hope you're right on that, Joe. I really do. That this is just him getting
I sense too much panic between both of you, between the fantasy Nick and your personal interest. I sense too much panic here.
I'm worried, man. I'm really, really worried. I really am. I expect. And hey, even Craig Button, even the professionals said this guy will step in and put up 60 points over an 82 game season. Like this guy was supposed to be. This guy was supposed to be the most NHL ready.
Well, using the word professional and Craig Button in the same sentence is kind of a little oxymoronic. But you know what? Yeah, sure, I agree with you.
He was touted as the most NHL ready of all the players, and he's 19 already.
That take will not age well, and he's definitely, like, it goes without saying, he's not going to hit that close to that pace this year. But I think here's what I thought about the other day. I was like, look at the faces of that World Junior team last year. I'm going to list just some names. Like, these are the faces of the World Junior teams of that team last year. Bowen Byram, Dylan Cousins, and Barrett Hayden, along with Lafreniere. Those were the core 4. Am I wrong in saying that? Those were the faces. That's fair. Right?
Maybe Byram to a lesser extent. Byram was more this year than last year, but yeah.
And I watch those players now, and they're fitting like a glove. I've been watching Arizona because I've had to watch these games out west. And Barrett Hayden is an impact player. Like, you notice him when the puck's on his stick. You notice him this year. And I've talked enough about Cousins, and you talked enough about Byram. And Laff is arguably a better player than those 3 guys. When they celebrated last year, he wore the flag. He won the tournament, the MVP. Just give him some time. If those 3 guys have impressed to this point, I think Laff will impress. He just needs some time, just like those guys had some time. Barrett Hayden looked lost. Barrett Hayden looked lost last year, and now he looks like a totally different player.
Yeah, this isn't an Alexander Daigle situation. He's going to
Time will heal all wounds. Time will heal this little 2-week segment here where his reputation has taken a bit of a hit. And I expect, in 1 month when we're back, when we're on this show, I'm sure we'll have seen many more positives.
I hope you're right. I'll just say this: my faith, which is always very strong, hence the Jonathan Drouin love over the years, is on life support. My faith is on life support.
You got to give that one up.
No. He's doing excellent this year so far. He's doing excellent. Point per game, Fits right in at the top line. Amazing player. I'm being
amazing's
paid
a bit
off,
of a-
Joe. I'm being paid off for all my support.
Yes.
That's what I am.
You have to die with the ship now.
Exactly. But I will be
I
sailing
respect
to
it.
Tahiti. That's where I'm going.
I respect it. I don't know about $5.5 million worth of respect, but I respect it.
Come on. Good deal. Good deal.
Shall we move on to the closing segment?
Sure.
There's another segment.
Fantasy.
Oh my God.
Okay. So I went through the exercise today of going through the top player, or basically going through our whole draft, all 19 rounds. And I looked up players that are overperforming, underperforming, and then waiver wire pickups that have been fantastic. So
Wow.
of those three things, what do you want to hear first?
Underperforming.
Yeah, give me the duds.
Underperforming. Okay. Do you want to go by team, or do you want to go like in order of like who's underperforming?
Well, I know exactly what you're going to say for my team. Elias Pettersson, the underperformer.
Go. I don't care. Just haphazard, whatever you want to do.
Okay. So let's go. Let's start with Joe, who in my model had the most underperforming picks of everybody.
Your model.
Hate to throw you
Wow.
under the bus, but these
Oh,
are
it's
just
okay.
4 things I noticed.
I'm more of a fantasy football guy anyways. I'm trying to figure this whole hockey thing out.
3rd round, Elias Pettersson is ranked 331st right now in fantasy.
Not good.
Not good at all. I going into tonight, he basically had 1 goal and 1 assist.
Now he has
8
a goal
games.
and an assist tonight.
He got a nice game tonight, so I will tip the cap to you there. Mike Hoffman, 6th round, ranked 374th.
Not good.
I have watched every Blue game, or almost every Blue game so far this year. This, my friend, was a bad draft pick. I would have drafted him. I would have fallen for this because I like his pedigree.
I thought he
like
was
what
going to have
did in Florida.
I thought it was going to be like a revitalization project.
I would have taken him, and I was pissed. I was pissed when you took him ahead of me, so I would have fallen for this too. And he just doesn't look like a fit there. That's a very defensive-oriented team, very different than Florida. And you can tell immediately that the coaching staff does not like him as much for that reason. He doesn't really suit their identity. He's kind of just going to be a power play specialist, which he's not even on their first power play. He's on their power play too.
Yep.
So
that.
he's playing like 12, 13 minutes a night. I just think this one, it sounds like a bit of a stinker. So I hope for your sake he does better, because I would have taken him too. But just had to point that out. And then, a couple more. Tristan Jarry, 7th round, 588 currently.
Not good.
Not good. And I would have fallen for this too. He was one of my breakouts, goalie breakout. So I think he's been great. I thought he was better than Murray all those years. And
Hindsight
we
is
just haven't seen it
2020.
yet. I think he turns it around. I think he turns it around here. And then you drafted Seth Jones in the 8th round, and he's ranked 517th right now. I believe he just has 1 point so far, Seth Jones.
You're really ripping on my team here.
I just,
What a
man,
dick,
these are just
eh?
my observations. These are just my observations. Kyle, you want me to rip on your team?
Yeah.
Carter Hart.
Oh, I knew this.
Oh.
That is not going to age well. That lyric of his in our song.
No.
4th round. You took him in the 4th round, right after I snagged Jordan Binnington. He is ranked 605th in fantasy right now.
Talk about
And
a bad character guy.
Are we allowed to defend ourselves?
That is a sparkling 418 GAA and an 880 save percentage.
I would take him again. I would take him again.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm with you. I mean, it's a short sample size. I think he's gonna be just fine. And young Rasmus Dahlin, 7th round. I would have taken him. 404th. He registered his first point yesterday.
Yeah,
So-
he's been odd. He hasn't looked good, eh?
He looked fine yesterday. I thought on the power play he would look just fine in that Buffalo Ranger game, but
See,
I don't know.
yeah, go on.
I clearly haven't watched enough. It was just the one game, and I thought he was okay, and that's why I think he'll be just fine. But to only have 1 point in 7 games, and you're on the top power play on a top 10 power play in Buffalo was surprising to hear.
Yeah, big time. Talk about first overall picks, right?
Yes, sir. Time to shit on myself. Of course, we already went over it. Alexis Lafreniere, 6th round, 590. He's ranked right now.
Yep.
Obviously 0 points through 6 games. Anthony Mantha. This guy, Kyle, he got benched the other night. Things have not started well in
Really?
this season. Yeah.
Wow.
He is still trying to find his way. He's ranked 360th, and I took him in the 11th round. So value-wise, like not as bad as some of the other ones I mentioned, but still bad. And then my worst one, because at least I'm optimistic about Laugh. This is my worst pick. Tyson Berry.
Zibanejad. Oh, sorry.
Oh, did I not
8th?
say that Tyson Berry was going to be shit on the last time we talked? Like I told you, you didn't listen to me.
I took him in the 8th round, and he's 424.
Wow.
And that power
This guy
play has not
blows.
gotten any better.
No, he's almost ruined it.
Yeah, it's almost been worse. since he's been
Kyle. He's recorded only 2 points, and as of last night, to your prediction, he has been kicked off the power play.
Woo! That's all he does is drive shots into people's shins.
This guy sucks.
So I'm probably going to drop him tomorrow. So he will be the first player taken in the top 8 rounds to be dropped. So there you have it.
Oh,
That
I
was
was gonna say
a wasted pick.
yeah. You go on. I'll do mine after.
Yeah, it's a wasted pick. If you want to interject, I have a few more, but if you want to interject, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say on you, like, how are you feeling about the Zibanejad pick right now?
No, like I was going to include that, but it's not that bad to the like anyone who was in the top 200. I wasn't going to put in here, but watching every game, I
Looks
think
bad.
He will.
He looks terrible to me. He looks like a dumbass out there.
He contracted COVID. He had some health problems. Let him get healthy. I think he will be fine. But I definitely like. There's a part of me that like I thought about the other day. I'm like, we live in a world now where people are taking Mika Zibanejad ahead of Sidney Crosby in their fantasy draft.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Nuts.
And
Like 2021, people are taking Mika Zibanejad, like this duster on Ottawa 6-7 years ago, ahead of the
Could you imagine saying that like 5 years ago? Like that's
exactly
insane.
Good God.
Insane.
It's crazy. Now Sid, I don't think's been like fantastic. Like in those New York Ranger games, I don't think he was that great. So jury's out there, and with Rutherford stepping down. With Rutherford stepping down, we'll see what happens with that team.
No. Come on. He's putting up a 90-point pace
He's
like
been better
every
than
year.
he's been better than Mika, but I still haven't seen like I didn't even notice him like one of those games, and it was the first Sidney Crosby game I could ever say that for.
Come on.
So, and that leads me to my next one. Evgeny Malkin, 3rd round, 324, and this is Matt Moops. So yeah, Moops kind of flubbed this one. It's he's got 2 points in like 7-8 games. And then other than that, really quickly, Erik Karlsson, 9th round, he's ranked 571. I saw that coming.
Yep.
Zach Renski went in the 6th round. He's ranked 463, same as Seth Jones. He only has 1 point. So something's not going right in that Tortorella system.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's about all I got here. Good picks. Nikolai Ehlers, 12th round. He's ranked 4th in Yahoo right now. Pretty good.
4th.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty shocking given he's always been a guy who's been ousted in favor of those other guys. He's up there right in the league. He's got as many points as Mitch Marner. Joe, how do you like the sound of that?
Sorry, say that again. Your mic cut out.
Nikolai Ehlers has as many points as Mitch Marner.
Yeah, he's been awesome. Like, good for him. Yeah,
12th
good.
round.
Yeah. I guess that's the character taking over.
Yeah, I guess. Kyle, 13th round. He took Nick Suzuki. To no one's surprise, he's ranked 38th in Yahoo right now.
Wow, amazing.
A little on the older side, but 14th round, Nick Backstrom, 39th. That was my pick. Mitch, 14th round, took TJ Oshie. He's ranked 50th. Michael, 15th round, took John Gibson. He's ranked 6th in Yahoo right now.
Ooh.
Josh Anderson, Joe,
Yes?
16th round is ranked 80, a respectable 80th in Yahoo right now.
What's he got, like 4 points?
Kyle should know this. I'm looking this up right now.
Fine, let's see what the $5.5 million.
He's got 3 goals and 1 assist.
Nice.
In 6 games, by the way, in 6 games.
Yeah.
Nice.
Another Kyle pick, Anze Kopitar, 17th round, ranked 17th.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
That's a good pick. Like,
So
he's
no
been great
longer
this year.
chirp Kopitar, you fuckers. Yeah, I come on the show every week. I bust my ass off talking about the Kings, and you guys shit on them and give them no respect.
Hey, I haven't. I think Kyle does. Kyle's just an anti-Kings.
Yeah.
He's very
And
anti.
and now he picks up Kopitar, and now he sounds like, oh, I've been in your corner all this time, Nick. Fuck off.
And yet you still won't trade him for Lafreniere, even though one's shit and one's
Nope.
great.
He's untouchable. Give me Crosby for Laugh. You're not getting Laugh. He means too much to the room. And finally, the final one, my pick. This was the latest guy taken who's been pretty good. 18th round, Logan Couture is 53. He's had a nice bounce back year.
Yeah.
And then finally, pickups. I have 8 pickups that I looked through the waiver wire, and they've been fantastic so far. So neither of you cracked this list, which shows you guys have some homework to do as far as checking the waiver wire.
Or
The
we already
problem
have
with
good teams.
No, well, I definitely don't. But the problem with fantasy hockey is it's like a second job. Like from the fantasy football world, I'm not even on a first job right now during the school year. But from fantasy football, where you can literally wake up Sunday at 11:30 and start your lineup, and I got to start these players every night. It's a different world for me.
Yeah, you're right, man. No, it's definitely different than just having to start guys once a week. It's a different ball game. But I digress. So these are just guys who are now ranked in the top 100 who were taken off the wire. There's 8 of them. Jack Hughes, like I stated earlier, by Michael, 98th. He's
Good
looked good,
pickup.
Kyle, eh?
No, I disagree.
Watching him go bar down on the power play, like, whew,
Well, listen, he's much improved from last year. That's for sure.
he looks great. He like the skating was on display last year, but he looked small and he was always like weak on the puck. He looks like an NHL player now. Which
Wait,
is
Kyle,
fantastic to
what
see.
is your team? Which team is yours?
Touched by Tanev.
Oh, right. Yes, I should have noticed.
Alexander Romanov taken by Bradshaw, 81. He's looked great.
Meh.
Meh.
Yeah.
That's
he's
all you're going to
alright.
give him. Okay.
Yeah.
Jacob Vrana taken by Mitch, 63rd. I think he's more just a beneficiary of those guys being out for COVID. That'll probably regress as we move on here. That sneakster, Josh, takes 2 guys on the Flyers, Kevin Hayes and James Van Riemsdyk. They're both in the top 50 now, 48 and 50th respectively.
Yeah,
That
he had a big
fucker.
game the other night. JVR.
Are you talking about pickups here, Nick?
Yeah.
I love how you failed to mention Brandon Tanev, ranked 59, who I picked up the other day.
I was getting there.
I thought
I
you
just
said
got
I
to the
wasn't on this
50s right
list at
now.
all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay.
Or
I
my-
guess he's not here.
Or my 520 pickup of Tyler Mott, who's now ranked 54.
Ooh, I like that pick.
Okay.
Is he really? Oh my god!
Yeah,
Wow,
you can all eat
Who
shit.
is this
How about
guy?
that?
that's
All right,
amazing.
relax. Matt Moops, Connor Garland ranked 46th. Mitch, this is my favorite pickup, and I wish I got this one. Joe Pavelski, ranked. He's only played 3 games, and he's already ranked 25th.
Why didn't you pick this guy up, Nick? Like, this is so against your character.
He was quick. Mitch was really quick on this. This guy has 8 points in 3 games, and he's got 7 power play points. 7 of those 8 have come on the power play.
Nick, he's got. You're right. Wow.
It sounds way too crazy of a stat line it's going to regress significantly once like Jamie Benn's back, but it's pretty shocking. Yeah, I'm pretty shocked. But Kyle, I will mention I missed on him, but so far the top 2 waiver wire fantasy performers are on my team. Do you want to guess who they are?
Let's see here. Varlamov. That's all I got.
Okay, so as
and
of
Toffoli.
Yes. Varlamov and Toffoli are the 2 best waiver pickups so far. Toffoli was the first star in the NHL for the first week. I think this is going to regress significantly. So I'm actually
there will definitely be a regression to the mean there.
Yeah, this guy is he is as streaky guys get. So I'm trying to trade him right now. And then as of yesterday, the number 1 player in all of fantasy hockey, Semyon Varlamov. That came after 2 shutouts and a 1-goal game. How do you like that, Kyle?
Well,
I really don't like Nick being this cocky on the show right now. It's very bad. It's poor character.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see anything out of Varlamov, to be honest. I see the Islanders are like not even in a playoff spot, and that's not a great first starting goalie to have. You know,
it's amazing what happens when you can't score goals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, he got shelled last night, which by Islander standards, I just call letting 3 goals in. I consider being shelled.
Well, by Islander standards,
by Islander standards,
yes.
So that happened. But anyways, the problem is I have 4 goalies and they're all very high end goalies. So I think I'm going to trade one at some point.
Maybe we should talk trades later on in this week.
Yeah, I would love that. I got the 2 Vegas goalies. I got Binnington and I got Varlamov.
We could definitely have a discussion because my team's going nowhere with Anderson and Yari as my goalies unless by some miracle happens. I mean, Anderson, I'm sure will correct himself, but Yari, remember we were talking last year about Pittsburgh having a stale team. God,
right.
Yes.
There's literally nothing that describes Pittsburgh more than that.
Yeah.
It's just a stale team. And by the way, I just saw on Twitter a list of their possible GM replacement candidates, and the list is not good. I've seen Peter Chiarelli on there, John Ferguson Jr., Tom Fitzgerald.
Is Pierre on there?
Pierre's not on there, according to Sportsnet. He's not. But man, like these are some bad hires, like Jason Botterill, like not good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not good.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see for those Pens.
Oh, Hextall's on the list too.
I wouldn't mind that, actually.
Yeah, that would be so weird though, like a Philadelphia legend.
That would be very, very weird.
I wonder why he got fired rather. Well, there's probably more to it than we know, but I just think he's been making some very questionable moves in his old age.
Oh, it's good
as we said, honestly. Joe. As we said last time you were here, I think he clearly failed the capacity assessment that they ran him through.
Yes.
And he has simply lost the ability to be a GM.
Yeah, and sometimes that happens. I mean, listen, 3 cups is 3 cups, but when you're trading first-round picks for Kasperi Kapanen, there's serious problems.
Ouch. That hurts.
Not good.
All right.
It really hurts.
So, Kyle, I'm done bragging about my fantasy team. So unless you have anything to add, we can wrap up here.
Well, I was just going to – I have a couple fantasy duds. I'd like to point out Robin Lehner. I don't know where you drafted him, but he's been shit.
I didn't draft him. I kept him and got to draft him in the 15th round.
That's even worse.
That's brutal, man. That's so brutal. Should have kept someone else.
Yeah, man, should have kept
someone.
He's
3 of his 4 starts have been bad. Thank God you got Fleury.
He played 2 games, and in 2 of them he won with 2 goals against. Okay,
hey, he's played 3 games. We've got 840, 840, 938, 909. That's 3 bad starts.
Okay,
That's three
here's what
bad
I will
starts.
say.
And you
Here's what I
kept
will
him.
say. Here's what I will say. Having watched every Vegas game so far, I went into the season hoping Fleury would win this job, and I still think that's what's going to happen. So stay tuned. Fleury has been lights out. Fleury is 7th ranked in fantasy right now, and he has been fantastic.
I want to
Yes,
impose sanctions
yes.
on your team for the amount of goalies you have, Nick.
Yeah.
Fucking 4 goalies here. This
know.
is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
It has to be done, man. I mean, it's not a recipe for success long term, but I'm really just holding on to them to find
And I think
out.
I'm starting to understand that fantasy hockey, like goaltenders are actually fucking important. Like it doesn't like you could lose a week just on goalie stats alone. Like it's bullshit.
Four of
Big
10
time,
categories, buddy.
Yeah, it's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
It's
I hate
it's
I hate
dramatic.
this system. I hate this system.
But yeah, no, like you mentioned Leonard's track record. Fleury shutout, 2 goals against, 1 goal against, which combines for a 1 GAA and a 951 save percentage.
Oh, and I'm over the moon for Fleury proving the doubters wrong.
Yes,
Because everyone said he's going to be shipped out of Vegas. Like this guy's trade fodder.
there's
Guy's
no one in
washed
the
up.
game. There's no one in the game at the goalie position that I like more than Marc-Andre Fleury. I think he's such an incredible person. Just a great player. Like just
Exactly.
Yeah. Wish nothing but the best. for him.
Last show. Yeah, go on.
And he indirectly led to Mike Babcock getting fired.
Yes,
you
the
remember.
save.
Yes, sir.
The save.
The save.
I believe that was on Nick Patan or something like that. I remember that.
Man, he's just a so much better like they were interviewing both goalies like on opening night, and Leonard's sitting there like hunched over, like giving 1-word answers, like with a fucking hood over his head, like he's possessed. Like the guy's a fucking loser. And then like Fleury, he's up there, he's sitting straight. Every reporter asking him questions. He's like, "Hey Jim, how's your family? Hey Sarah, how are the kids?" Like he's asking them questions before they're asking him questions. I'm like, this guy's the fucking best. This is good character.
No, you put way too much emphasis on these post game interviews. It's just it's. I have never seen someone draw more ridiculous conclusions from 2-second snippets of post game interviews.
And boys,
it's obscene.
and shockingly, maybe it's not shocking, but the guy who was vilified in the playoffs last year was Fleury. Isn't that something else? Leonard's this great guy, Fleury. Locker room cancer, people were saying. Could you imagine?
I can't picture him being an asshole, though. You know?
No, he's not. It's crazy.
I just can't. Like, he's one of those guys where I look at his face. I'm like, no, this guy's it seems like a nice guy. Like, I'd want to have a beer with him.
It's the dumbest narrative ever. I remember we got pretty heated last year, like playoff time, about this topic, and I'm glad with the way things are going so far.
Oh, if they trade him, if they trade him to get rid of that salary, which is still it still is on the table, I'll be pretty livid.
Yeah.
Because I think this team will need both goalies. Like if this team has aspirations,
he's 36.
They're going to need both goalies.
Was he have like a $7 million cap hit, something like that?
For this year and next year.
He's got to be 36 or 37, something like that. No.
The rumor has it if Vegas wants to add like another impact forward or defenseman at the trade deadline, thinking this is their year, they will have to get rid of Fleury to let that cap space.
Well, if this isn't their year, then I don't know what is. They got to win now. Yeah,
it's last shot at the bar for Pete DeBoer.
Yeah, he's 36. He just turned 36.
Yeah.
Pete DeBoer.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Isn't he your boy, Pete DeBoer?
He is my man crush, Pete DeBoer.
Yeah. It's a shame he's a loser.
Windsor graduate. Windsor.
Yes, he is. Hey, John Cooper's a lawyer too.
Fuck off. No, I issued my apology a couple of weeks ago to him. We're on good terms now.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
That narrative is over. I've stopped following him. He's ridden into the sunset. I can no longer call him a loser.
Yeah,
like
he's a cup champion.
He did it. And so he literally stuck it in my face, and I can't even chirp him back.
I can't wait till Matthews does the same to you.
Yeah, hey. Yeah, we'll see, man. The day the Leafs win the cup, it's going to be I'll be so split, you know, because my childhood team will have won, but people like Matthews will be hoisting the cup.
Listen, if the Leafs, when the Leafs, but Tavares will host it first. He's the captain. But Matthews,
Right.
yes. But no, it's it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Is that it for this week, Kyle?
That's all I got. Yeah.
I think we're good.
Okay. I think we're just under 2 hours, so that's a nice cutoff. So thank you for joining us once again, Joe. It's been I guess it was like since October you were on. So thanks for hopping on again.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you.
Awesome.
Of course, as always, heated as always, fantastic banter.
Great banter.
And wish you both the best in the fantasy, although not this week because I have to crush Kyle. So we'll see where that goes.
Yes, I'm playing Dano still, fam. I don't know who that is, but I'm losing right now 4-3.
No idea. I'm
Christian's
sure
rad team.
Christian's rad team. We'll definitely talk trades, Joe, and
for sure.
We will go from there. So thank you, listeners, for tuning in yet again. Episode 4 of this 3rd season. We hope you enjoyed. And until next time, and keep enjoying the action. We got another 14 games on slate tomorrow. The games during this COVID schedule, just keep on popping up. So enjoy and make sure to come back a couple weeks from now to hear what we have to say about whatever the hell happens coming up. So until then, thank you for tuning in. Rink Moose is signing off.
All right.